Hello there, my lovely jewelry makers. I'm Christina of CSLdesigns, and in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to make these coiled wirework earrings. Now they match perfectly with previous pieces that I made, which I'm going to have a playlist for in the description box down below, and they will also be available for sale in my shop where I sell jewelry kits and tutorials. You'll also find a link straight to that in the description box. Otherwise, if you want to learn how you can make them, then stay tuned. Then we'll need our materials, so I'm using a regular round copper wire here. The first gauge is a 0.8mm, then I'm using a 0.6mm as well, and this is what we're going to use to make the coils with. And then I got some jump rings and earring findings, so I'm using these earring posts and butterfly backs, but of course you can use whatever you want to. Then the tools we'll need is some flush cutters to be able to cut our wire, tweezers and nose pliers to manipulate the wire with, and then my 6-step pearl making pliers to make consistent loops. Now I'm also going to be using the coiling gizmo tool to help make my coils, and I'm using the rod in the size 3mm. Now I'm going to leave the material list and useful links in the description box down below so you can go there and have a look. Otherwise, let's get it all ready and let's get started. And we then need to start on making our coils, so I attach my coiling gizmo to the desk and place the rod in the holes. Then I attach the end of my 0.6mm wire around the handle just so it's fastened, and then I start coiling, and I'm just leaving the wire on the reel. And then you just want to keep coiling, making sure your coils are nice and tight until we have almost the full length of the rod. And here I then have my coils ready, so we can just remove them from the rod as we go. Then I'm just going to put them out of the way and start with one at a time. Then using 2 pairs of pliers, and then going to one of them, grab through the coils there just on one end, and on the other end I'm going to grab just the first couple of coils with another pair, and then we want to start pulling this, so just do it gently because we want to basically open up the coils. So keep hold of the ends and then keep pulling so your coils separate out slowly and also nice and evenly. And obviously during this your coil also becomes longer, and just do this with all of them. Once we then opened up all our coils, what I want to do is cut them all in half. So I'm just going to measure the full length, and then at the halfway point we can just cut straight through the coil, and then we now have 2 equal lengths instead. And again, just do that with all your lengths. And we then need to start putting the coils together, and for that I've cut 6 lengths of the 0.8mm here of about 35 centimeters each, and again I'm going to use 3 for each earring. And so just working on one earring at a time, I've got 4 lengths of coils and then 3 lengths of my 0.8mm here, and I'm going to start with 2 of the lengths of the coils and then just 1 of the lengths of wire. And we need to now start putting these coils together. So what we're going to do is start towards one end. We just want to start sliding them into each other basically so they fit nicely like that, and then taking the length of wire, I'm going to feed that through the point where they are overlapping inside each other, and that's what's going to hold them together. So basically you just want to then keep working your way through, pushing the wire through, making sure you catch all the coils, and then it's going to hold them together, and just continue pushing it through and help push the coils together as well as you go. Now you will probably find it's going to add a twist like this. Don't worry about it, just keep going until we make it all the way through the other end, and then your wire will be coming out the other end here. So just leave a short little tail, the same at the beginning. Then what we need to do is bring in the next coil, go back to the beginning, and also have another length of wire ready. Now starting on the end here, just choosing one of the coils, doesn't matter which one, place that into each other in the same way, and then feed this length of wire through those 2 coils where they overlap each other, and then basically do the same thing. Bring this all the way through, continue it till the other end, and now it's up to you whether you want to bring it through and just keep the twist in for now and then straighten out at the end, or you can straighten it out as you go, whatever you find the easiest. Just make sure you don't miss any of the coils if you can help it. And again, it comes out the other end, and just make sure to leave a tail. And then what we want to do is grab the last coil and the last length of wire and repeat the same thing. So just feed them into each other and then just get all the way to the other end with this one as well. Now if you haven't straightened it out already like I haven't here, I am going to start to do that now because it is getting tougher to get the wires through. So you literally just twist the coils in the opposite direction to the twist that they have naturally, and then that should hopefully also make it easier to get the wire through. So just straighten it out as you go. So I've now done both my lengths separately here, and you can see I have my ends of wires going out on the ends, and you can also see the ends are quite uneven. So what we need to do now is first of all trim the ends ends to get them more even. And then also we need to determine the length we need these to be, because the length will determine the size of the final earring. So just working with one at a time. First of all, you can just trim off the end here that is the most even. What I'm just going to do is make sure they're as even as possible. So kind of a straight line. This one, to be honest, doesn't look that bad, but I just want to make sure that the ends of the wire are not kind of sticking out anywhere. So what I also like to do is just kind of push the ends inwards a little bit, just so they won't catch or scratch on any skin or hair. So just kind of close up that very final coil a bit so we get the very end out of the way. And then as for the length, what I personally like to do is get a scrap length of wire, so something like this, and then you can kind of simulate the shape and get a rough idea of the size that you want. So obviously this is just roughly a teardrop shape, and I can see this is about the size I want the final piece to be. I can then straighten it back out after putting a bend into where they meet up, and this is then the length that I want my coiled length to be. So I'm going to measure from the end that I've already tidied up and then up to the other end. Here I can see where my length of wire finishes is where I then need to cut across these coils. Now what you don't want to do is go in and cut like this, because you don't want to cut through the lengths of wire running through the coils. I just want to cut the coils themselves. So just holding my wire in place here, I can see the point I need to cut. So I'm just going to start from one side and just cut literally through the coil. And I can just remove this because I now know where I'm cutting. And then it's the same all the way across. You just want to catch the actual coils and cut through them right to the other side. And now they are separate here. Now you might find that they're a little bit attached to each other still, so just kind of wiggle them around until you can then pull them off. And then I can remove these from the wires, and I then have my length here. Now you can just line it more up in the middle, so pull the wires through a bit if you need to. And again on this end I also just want to make sure to tidy this up so the very ends of the wires are not going to be catching or scratching on skin or hair. So just kind of push them inwards a little bit, something like that. And then I have this length ready. Now of course you just want to do the same with the other length, so we also get them as even, as similar as possible. Now the length that I've ended up making both of mine here is 17 centimeters, but like I said, you can easily make them shorter for a smaller earring or even longer for a larger earring. Then what I'm going to do is, again, just on one at a time, we need to finish off some of these wire ends. So to do that, just starting on one end at a time, I'm going to cut down the two outer ones. So I'm going to leave the one in the middle, cut down the outer length, just do one at a time, then grabbing my tweezing nose pliers, and we want to kind of get rid of these, but we still need them to stay in the coil, so not pull through, which is why I'm then going to grab onto the end and bend it back on itself. And this one I'm just bending outward, but making sure the end comes straight down so that hopefully it should fit into the outer coil when I go to the other end here, and then pull on it, and hopefully it should just slide right into the coil, the very end, and that basically gets rid of the end of the wire so it's not sticking out, but it's still secure and won't be able to pull through. So I'm just going to flip it around, do the same with the other one. So just cut off the excess, leaving a few millimeters there, grab the end, bend it back on itself all the way around, come straight back down, and then go to the other end and just picking out that wire, and then hopefully should fit in just nicely on the outer coil there when you pull it down and tighten it. And that gets rid of those two. Now of course we have the other end as well. Again, leave the middle one, so just don't cut that off, but the other ones I'm going to make sure to cut off. So same principle, the outer ones, cut off the excess, so we just have a few millimeters left. Grab the end. Now this time, because we've already done the other end there, I want to make sure to kind of just pull it up a little bit before I make the bend, then bend it in the same direction outward and all the way back on itself, so that when you let go it kind of snaps in by itself, because obviously these are kind of springy and the other end is still tight, because you don't want one end to kind of be sticking out or something. Now flip it around, do the same with this one. Pull it out a little bit before we make the bend, and then bend it back on itself. Make sure it goes into the outer coil there, and then it'll snap right into it and be hidden out of the way. And then we finished off both ends nicely for now, and we're just left with a wire in the middle, which we're going to use to then also attach this together. Then to shape the earring here, we just need to basically bring the ends together and create a teardrop shape. Now you can just use your hands and fingers, or get something you can kind of help shape it with. I'm just using a ring mandrel. It doesn't matter what you have, anything that's convenient. I'm just going to start putting a curve into it across the middle until the two ends then start to come closer together, just so we get a nice curve in place around the bottom. And then we need to fasten it here at the top. So I'm going to get my tweezer nose pliers, and what's going to be the front, I'm just going to bend it kind of straight upwards a little bit like that. And then the other one is going to come the side of it, and then I'm going to hold it in place and start to wrap this other length around the wire that we bent, right down where they're coming out from the coils. And you just want to wrap it around like this a few times until it's nice and secure. Then cut off the excess right after your last wrap, and then make sure to just squeeze that end down. And then we have one length left, and for this I'm going to make a wrap loop with that so we can then attach it to our earring findings. So I'm placing my pliers and then just a little bit above where those wraps are, leaving a bit of space. Then bend this to the side. Then I take my 6-step bell making pliers using the smallest step, and I just use that on both of them so they get the same size loop. Bring the wire all the way back around so we get a full circle like that. Then place your pliers on that circle so it stays in place while I'm then wrapping the remaining length here around that space that we left until we run into the other wraps and we don't have any more space to wrap, like that. And then cut off the excess. And of course, make sure to just squeeze down that end so it's not sticking out. And then you have your finished earring. Basically, you just need to then attach this using jump rings to the earring finding. And of course, repeat the same with the other one as well. And then once you finish both of them, you have a finished pair of earrings ready to wear. Now, I just chose to oxidize mine because there's so much texture in them, which is why I chose to use bare copper wire. But of course, that's completely up to you. Now, do check out my shop where I sell jewelry kits and tutorials, including these earrings here. I'm going to leave a link to the description box down below. And while you're there, you can also sign up for my newsletter so you don't miss any future updates. Otherwise, I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching it, and I'll see you in the next one.